So we'll start with LSU, and I want to go from a bird's eye perspective and slowly get our way down to the field and talk about what's going to happen on said field. So coming into this game, right, LSU's coming off a bye week, as is Alabama, and the teams are in kind of similar situations. With LSU, it's, all right, this team didn't start the season very well, but they've got a lot of potential. They've had a lot of talent since the beginning of the season. Can they salvage the season? Because LSU was a very trendy pick to win the SEC this year, or at least to win the SEC West. I know I picked them to win the SEC West, and after you lose to Florida State, which we predicted and expected, we were still on board with that. Like, hey, they're going to win out. They'll take care of business. They got to beat Alabama. They got to pull some wins here and there. But then they lost to Ole Miss, right? And when that happened, I was very concerned with my prediction because I didn't think they'd lose that game before the season and certainly not during the season. And they didn't look like the LSU team I thought we would see. But since then, they've turned it around. They beat Missouri right after, got a ranked win. Then they took care of Auburn easily. Not a great Auburn team, but still beat them by 30 points. That's pretty impressive, especially in an SEC game like that. And then, of course, they beat Army. That was expected. And now we're at the bye week. So we're all wondering, is the team really different from the one that we saw lose in a shootout in Oxford? Have they finally found who they're supposed to be? Are they finally that team we thought they were before the season started? On the other side with Alabama, they're 7-1. They've lost one game this year. It was to Texas, a team that has played some great ball, is certainly in the national championship picture, even with Quinn Ewers out with injury. And not many teams in the past decade have gone to Tuscaloosa and won in Bryant-Denny Stadium. And Steve Sarkisian in Texas did that. But since then, Alabama has turned it around, and they haven't won games in a very beautiful manner. But as Nick Saban does in the years where the team's not necessarily dominant, doesn't have a Heisman Trophy player on the offense, whatever, they've just found ways to win games. So they beat Arkansas by 3. They come back and beat Tennessee in the second half in a game that was very difficult to watch, to be honest with you, watching that film back. And there's been other games this year where Alabama's just had to, like Texas A&M, just make enough plays and just literally scrap together a mix of something in a pot to come out with a win. That's how it's been. So is this Alabama team elite? I don't think you're going to get that answer coming out of this game, but it'll at least give you an indication of, okay, perhaps they can be. And down the stretch of the season, perhaps they could be a team that beats Georgia. So the point is both teams come into this game with a lot to prove. And for LSU, if they win this game, to me, they salvage this season. Because before this, assuming they get the win, it's looking like a failure. Because you brought back Jaden Daniels, you brought back, how many starters they bring back? 8 on offense, 7 on defense. And that probably doesn't include guys that have made spot starts here and there that have starting experience, right? And to have 2 losses before we even got into October, that was embarrassing. Because, again, this was a team that a lot of people picked to win the SEC West and maybe compete for a national championship. And you lose 2 games before the rankings for the college football playoff even come out. I mean, that can't happen, right? But they're right back in the discussion. They're in the top 15 in the rankings. The college football playoff rankings come out tonight, if I'm not mistaken, and I assume LSU will be around 15, maybe a little bit higher or lower from there. And if they win this game at Alabama, you're basically in sole possession of first place in the SEC West. I know Ole Miss has the tiebreaker, but they still have to play Georgia. And if Georgia plays anything like they did this past weekend against Florida, like they do against Ole Miss, they'll win that game. And then you have sole possession of first in the SEC West. So what I'm saying is, you go to Tuscaloosa, you win this game, everything that I thought you could accomplish before the season and all the stuff that the fans hope to see this season is still possible. Because if you win your games from there, Florida, Georgia State, Texas A&M, you go to the SEC championship game. And if you win the SEC, you're in the playoff. Even if you make it to the championship game and you lose, that's now 2 straight years. You've beaten Alabama, won the West, and have gone to the SEC championship. And it's the first 2 years of a new regime under Brian Kelly. That's very impressive to me. And to be honest with you, LSU might be the team with the best chance to beat Georgia in the entire SEC. They've got the great offense, and that's really what you need to keep up with Georgia. Like, Ohio State almost knocked off the Bulldogs in the college football playoff last year because they have an offense comparable to what LSU and Jaden Daniels have put together this year. So, again, if I could sum up everything I just said in one sentence, if LSU goes to Tuscaloosa and knocks off Alabama, takes sole control of the SEC West, the season is salvaged. And if you're an LSU fan, I want you to let me know if they get this win. Are you back to being happy? Are you, okay, I'm content with what they've accomplished this season, with everything else out the rearview mirror? If LSU goes to Alabama and wins, are you satisfied as an LSU fan? I want to know. Personally, as a person that covers the team, I am. So let's see if it happens.